It was the golden age of stand-up, and I was there.
Welcome to stage, Mr. Lou Dimaggio, ladies and gentlemen.
Last girl I went out with was the most uptight person I ever met in my life, but she had a good excuse. She went to Catholic school and Vietnam, okay? So...
In 1989, I was on top of the world. But then, I threw it all away.
That was sad to me when Lou stopped doing stand-up. It was sad.
This is my story. It's about getting a second chance to do the one thing I was ever great at.
Why did you let it go?
You know, I was going through a divorce.
Did she get the act?
I really enjoyed this documentary.
Oh,
thank you.
I want to know, one, how did you realize that this was a journey that you wanted to do on film? And two, where did she find this to?
They actually tie. They go hand in hand, too. Well, you know, it was one of those things that we talk about, you know, like kismet and timing, which is everything, certainly big in comedy, timing. But it was a situation where I had been out of it for years and years and years. And we talk about it early in the film when I really had reached a point after a couple of years, I guess, out of it, where I just started to really miss it. And I thought, well, I'm missing it, okay. Then it started to get louder, this voice, you know, in my head saying, what are you doing with your life? You know, you did like the hardest thing you could ever do, and you were good at it, and why are you not doing that?
Stand up.
Yeah.
Very hard. Anybody that can really do that, I commend them.
Well, I'm not going to say I took it for granted, but I did in a way, only because when I started, I was pretty young. I was about 21 when I started, and I was pretty successful at it, you know, early on. So I just thought, well, this is something I can do. I didn't appreciate it until I got out of it. And then I started to go, wow, you know, that was hard to do. And it is hard to do. And then I had lunch with Brad. Brad, you want to pick it up from here?
Yeah.
Well, look, we were friends. You know, we'd been friends for a long time, like 15 years. A long time ago, we worked together on a reality show pilot that didn't go anywhere. But I was
it was a game show reality pilot.
A producer, and Lou was a writer, and we worked together on this thing. And we have not worked together again since then, but we remained friends over the years. And so we'd get together once or twice a year, and I saw Lou for this particular lunch, and he starts telling me this incredible story.
Yeah, but you know
himself.
what? Remember
the Belzer thing.
Forget about Belzer. Yeah. He was trying to do a show with Richard Belzer as the host, which is what clicked off. I said, Belzer? I go, Belzer? And you were saying you don't remember him so much as a comic, because he was a comic like, you know, years and years ago.
Yeah.
But Belzer was, yeah, right. Belzer was one of my idols, you know, and he was one of the top MCs at Catch a Rising Star. So that's what set off this conversation where I started to tell him about that world, and he didn't realize how enmeshed I was in it, I think, right?
Yeah, no, I didn't. And so he tells me the story about, you know, Catch a Rising Star and working there as a young guy, and all these incredible famous comedians of today that he shared stage time with there. And I just, you know, I make TV for a living, but I'd never made a documentary, and I always had it kind of in my mind to do that if I could find the right story, which is the trick, right? So we're sitting at this lunch, and he's telling me the story, and I just said, well, this is a documentary. Like, let's make this.
Because he says to me, well, you know, if you could get some of these people to go on camera, I think we might have something. And then he goes, oh, and by the way, did you ever think about doing stand-up again? So the thing I'm telling you about before, where that's like this loop in my brain, is now basically I'm going, say yes, even if you don't think you can do it, say yes. So I said, yes. Well, I was honestly, yeah. But now it's going to happen, and it's going to be with a documentary behind it. So it was a perfect scenario.
Yeah.
So,
well, Brad, I want to know, how far into the filming process and the directing process did you realize what you had?
The fun part about making this documentary was, you know, we kind of put these requests out to these comedians one at a time.
Big people.
And they were big names. And when we started, we didn't know if anybody would say yes. And so I kept encouraging Lou to kind of reach out to them.
And I didn't want to.
He didn't want to.
Not that I didn't want to, but I was afraid, you know, that they would say no.
Right.
It would be so embarrassing.
Don't really have friends, everyone.
Well, these are not necessarily people you talk to all the time. Yes, they know who I am.
Yeah.
And I know, but it's not like, you're going to the barbecue. It's not like that. I mean, it's like I haven't talked to some of them in months and maybe some of them in years,
Well, when Larry David responded, to Lou's email, and he shared it with me, and we literally had a date to go to his house to film.
Just
this
let me
thing.
say one thing before you get into that story. I sent Larry David like a 3-paragraph email because I said, we're making this movie about Catch and I can't imagine telling the story without you because you were such a part of it, and it goes on, and then I click send and I wait, and I'm staring at the computer, and I don't know what it was. Maybe 2 days later, maybe 3 days later, I see the email is there. So I click on the email, and it just says sure. Period.
Where have you gone, Lou Dimaggio?
I'm
Yes,
right here.
He's right here.
Right here, folks.
You guys go check it out.